So a very good morning to all of you. So this side Kumar Ranjan, and today I will be discussing some of the important concepts of SSAS, which is SQL Server Analysis Services. So what I want you to understand first of all is why we use SSAS. So let me tell you, this video is for the beginners, for those persons who might be interested in getting the data model being prepared, getting a cube being prepared, and pulling out the cube as a source in different reporting tools. That might be Power BI, that might be MicroStrategy, or that might be any other reporting tool including Tableau as well. So you must be aware of the fact that it is an OLAP database, that is analytical processing, and the SSAS supports two modes. It supports two modes. The first one is MDX, which is also known as multi-dimensional query, and the mode is known as the multi-dimensional mode. And the second one is known as DAX, that is also called as tabular model. So what's the difference? What's the difference between these two, the MDX and tabular? So let me tell you the very history of SSAS. It was introduced in 2007. So when it was introduced earlier, the only model that was being provided was MDX, that is multi-dimensional expression. Now in 2013, what Microsoft has introduced is the tabular version of SSAS. So DAX, what is DAX? DAX is the query language that we use to write to calculate the measures, to calculate our query, to calculate our stuffs into this tabular model. Whereas in multi-dimensional model we use MDX. So for multi-dimensional stuff we will be using the MDX. For tabular stuff we will be using the DAX. However, I will be more emphasized on this topic, that is the tabular version, because in any of the organizations it is currently being used. And why tabular is being used? Say for example, for the peoples who are working in SQL stuff, Microsoft SQL Server. So for the SQL guys, it is pretty easy to understand the DAX and the tabular model, because it is pretty much related with the tables, the views, and it is very simple in grasping the things. So let me tell you the few core concepts again that we would be using, and we would be talking about these topics. So it is necessary to understand few things. The first thing is measure. The second thing is dimension. Oops, I missed N. And the third thing is attributes. Oops, I'm bad in spellings. So what is a measure? First of all, measure is a thing that what actually do you want to analyze? Means what actually do you want to analyze? It is a measure. Normally the measure values are stored in a fact table, and these are stored in a fact table. Anyway, the things that I'm writing over here would be given to you on a PowerPoint slide maybe, or it will be more clear when I will be showing the demo on the actual Visual Studio SSDT screen. So that's what the measure. So let me throw an example. Let's go here. Suppose I have a sales table in which I have certain columns, sales ID and amount. So sales ID will be maybe 1, 2, 3, and let the amount be 2000, maybe 3000, maybe 10. So this amount, which is having the quantitative data. So given any analysis things, what I have said earlier, measure the thing that you want to analyze, and these are stored in fact tables actually. So if somebody asks you what is the total amount, what is the total sales actually, so your answer will be 5010. This will be your total sales. So the total sale will be the accumulative sum of all those three things. This will be a measure. And what is a dimension? The numerical data into which you would be categorizing this thing is called a dimension. The numerical data in which we would be categorizing the thing. Categorizing the measure actually. So if I tell you total sale was 5010, can you tell me on any given date what was the sale, or in fact on any given month what was the sale? I'm bad in spellings. In any given month what was the sale? So taking this sale value based on a month category over here, so month will be our measure. So any relative date, actually it's not a month, let us call it dates. Any relative date filtering will be our dimension over here. Got the point? Say if anybody will ask you regarding the products, maybe suppose a product of category X, how much amount does a product of category X was being sold? So it will again be a dimension. So actually there will be multiple facts and multiple dimensions can be in a star schema, and that will be figuring out when I will be discussing the tabular model into practical approach. What are attributes? These dimensions will be called as attributes also. So there is as such no difference between attributes or a dimension, but the attributes will be decided on what we want to calculate and on what categories we want to calculate our analysis and our reporting data. So let me recall what I have just said. SQL Server Analysis Services is an OLAP database. It is used for analysis services, and it works in practically two modes, that is a multi-dimensional mode and that is a tabular model approach. Currently every organization is using the tabular approach just for two reasons: easier to get for SQL guys, and the second thing, DAX is easily related to SQL, and the third thing, tables and views are accessible to be compressed using a tabular approach. Actually, what I mean to say in the third point will be explained later. So the SSAS tabular engine actually compresses the data to 1 by 10 times. And how does it do? Why does it do? There's a lot of stuff happening at the back end. Maybe the column store index is being provided, and the SQL Server database engine in which we right click and compress the data that is being done automatically over here in the tabular approach. So, and the second thing I explained is about measure, dimension and attributes. So I hope these things are pretty much clear, and let us switch now to something practical. This is one of my cube that is being deployed, so sorry for that. So let us open another Visual Studio. It might take some time, so bear with me. So this is the Visual Studio screen you might have seen earlier once you will open it. So either you can press a short key, that is Control Shift N, or you can go to File, you can go to New, you can go to File, you can go to New, you can go to Project, and in the Business Intelligence tab it will be Analysis Services, and you can see two options are being provided over here. That is a multi-dimensional model and that is a tabular model. So as I said earlier, SSAS is built into two different modes, so you can choose any one of them. Analysis Services Tabular Project, so I will choose it. Click give a name, test, and click OK. So a new tabular project will open. Alright, so the first thing you will face over here is it will ask or select an analysis service instance to use while authorizing the project. So there are two radio buttons being provided over here. The first one is integrated workspace, and what it will do, it will directly point you to the SSAS engine in your instance. And the second one is your workplace server. Here you can mention your local host, here you can mention your organization server in which you will be deploying the report and deploying the tabular cube actually. So I will go for integration workspace. This is SQL Server RTM. Click OK, and it is creating a project. Alright, so go to Solution Explorer first of all, and you will see a model.bim. So the first thing you need to remember is in tabular model, .bim extension file is being created. Actually, file should be a wrong word. Model.bim cube is being created, and if we will be using a MDX, that is a multi-dimensional model, that .cube model will be prepared over here. So for the now being, we will be focusing on .bim. So that is a tabular model. So anywhere you will be seeing something .bim, that means it is a tabular cube. Okay, so now we have connected to the SSAS instance. How to go from here on? So you are seeing multiple tabs over here: build, tool, model, table, column, team, tools. So go to model, and here is a nice button called as import from data source. Click over it, and you will see the multiple sources that are being provided you to get the access. So we are having the Excel, we are having the text, we are having Oracle, Teradata, Sybase, SQL Server. So I am more interested in Microsoft SQL Server. Click next. Okay, so it's asking for a server name, so let's pick it up. Just giving a friendly name. This is my server name. I will be using the Windows authentication. You can use a SQL Server authentication as well. Click the database and say, for example, I will be using my mart and test connection. Connection succeeded successfully. Click on next. So here it will be asking specify the credentials used by AS analysis services to connect to data source while importing and processing the data. So two things, what I want you to understand, two things over here. So there's a thing called importing, there's a thing called processing. So importing means just taking the table, just taking out the views and pushing it into the tabular cube. That is importing. I repeat, importing means just pushing the tables or the views and keeping it here. What processing data means, once you have prepared the cube, once the cube is ready to deploy, you need to process the data, and this processing will involve all the views, all the measures that you have written through DAX, those will be processed. So importing will just focus on having the tables and views, and processing will be done at the time of deployment. So you can choose anything over here. You can have your current user, you can have your unattended account. Never use this one actually. Either you can have a Windows username and password. So actually what I prefer is service account, simply because suppose for an organization point of view, if somebody has created a report and somebody has created a tabular model and by any means he is leaving the organization, so he won't be changing his name, ID, password every now and then. So that's why we have been using the service account over here. Alright, click on next. Okay, so there are two options available: select from a list of tables or write a query to import the data. When you will select this, click on next. In this server that I have been working upon, in this database that I have been working upon, these are all the tables that are being displayed. So now coming to the requirement, there might be a requirement in which you need to calculate the sales information, you need to calculate the product information. Means what I want you to know is, depending on your fact and dimensions, you will be choosing the tables out here. There might be thousands of tables out here, but there is a possibility that your cube can be having only 6 to 7 tables, and that will be all. And I've seen many places where 15-16 tables are more than sufficient, even if we have 1,000 tables. If it is more than 15 to 16 tables, then there might be a problem in your model maybe. So let me pull out something really quick here as we have time constraint. Let me pull out policy. Let me pull out policy term, maybe policy enforce, maybe, and company. You can so you can see the schema cube written over here. That is simply because I have created views using this schema. So these are my views, and for the DBO schema, these are the actual tables. So again, there's a story behind it why we should choose views in my SSAS approach. Suppose if I would be using this table directly, and at a later stage I need to modify the table, and I might not have access to do so, I might not have my right to do so. But if I have created a view that would be using that table, at any time I, being the owner of the view, can easily modify it. So let's click finish, and it will be loading. It will take some time, and the data will be loaded into the model, this model. So we have done our first piece. So we have learned in this tabular approach how to have a setting, how to have my tables incorporated, and what is the difference between the tables and the views. So what a good BI architect would suggest, we should always go in for the views rather than directly approaching the tables directly. So it is taking some time. So can wait for some time. Let it go. Let me cover some more things over here. So topics, we would be covering DAX, we would be covering tabular model, we would be covering optimization, we would be covering Power BI. Alright. This is different one. So you can see all the three tables have been, all the four views have been loaded successfully. Now you can close it and you can see your warnings. You can ignore it for now. So two views are being presented over here. The first one is called as grid, the second one is called as the diagram view. So there's a company name, there's a policy name, there is a policy in force cube, there's a policy term. So we have incorporated these four tables into our model. This is a tabular model. Now go to this diagram and the story starts from here. The actual story starts from here. So what we need to do is to connect these four pieces into a model approach, and for that we would be knowing the business keys, we would be knowing the natural keys, we would be knowing the foreign keys as well. So keeping in mind these things, three things. So what I also want you to know is tabular version does not support many to many relationships. So this is a thing that will be encountered by any of the development folks a lot. So we can't have a many to many relationships involved. What I mean to say from this, if policy key is a primary key over here, and suppose this policy key is a foreign key for this policy term table, either of them will be unique. So how to create a relationship? Just pick it up here and make this come here. You can see it is one, means in this table policy key is unique. It is many because here it is not a primary key. Here the primary key is policy term key, so it will be a one to many relationship. By any case it would have been many, so we need to figure out certain workarounds to have a relationship in between. So this is our simple cube. Anyway, we can always have a right click over here, and we can always create relationship. So there are two approaches to create a relationship. So this thing, you can mention policy over here, you can mention the policy, what's that, policy term, and you can link it with the policy key. So anyway, these two remain the same. So we are linking here with the policy key and the policy key. So first delete these ones. Let's make it simple. So if you want to delete anything, just select the table or this diagram and press delete. My system is slow, please bear with me. Select it and press delete. Come on. So right now we are having a simple SSAS tabular model, which is just having two of the views. The first view is policy and the second view is policy term. Let me drive some business insights from it. One policy, suppose you have taken a policy and of health insurance maybe, and that policy can have multiple terms. So the terms are being categorized into the policy term, and these are certain the business keys. Agency key, there can be another table called as agency, and this agency key will be a foreign key for that primary key agency. So these are certain core concepts. So this is the first tabular model that we need to create, and these product class, product type, these are the attributes, and these attributes will be used to point to our measures that we would be creating through DAX actually. So let me see if there is some thing is there. Suppose your organization asks you, hey, give me this total policy that is being sold by us. So, and the total policy will be the aggregation of the policy number. Does that make sense? So just go to here. Now I will be showing some of the basic DAX, that is the data analysis expression on how to calculate the policy. So one more thing I want you to know is either I would be creating a measure here in this policy, or either I will be creating a measure here in policy term. It would make no difference. I repeat, it would make no difference, simply because the measures are calculated at the time of runtime. So once I will be creating a measure, or you can say a DAX over here, so don't get confused that it is associated with policy term. Even if it is here, it is not associated with this policy. So that is the difference between a measure. But if I create a new column over here, if I will create an insert column over here, that column will be a part of this table actually. But creating a measure over here won't be any difference to either of these two pieces. We can create it here, we can create it here, it hardly makes a difference. So give it a name, total policy, and give it a say colon, give it is equal to, and the total policy will be count of POL. So how the DAX function work? Count, we need to count the total policies, and it will be starting with the table name. So our table name is policy, and we need to count the policy number. Here it is. Just select it out, close the bracket, press enter. Alright, so you have your first measure. Bingo. So what analysis have we done so far? We can clearly say to our management or any person sitting at a higher authority, so hey folks, we have 1.1 million policies sold from the history to today. So this is the first thing that you can showcase to the any reporting tool, maybe a Power BI, maybe a Tableau. So this is the how we create measures. So this is a very simple DAX. However, I will be covering other DAX maybe sometime later. So that's all for the day. Thanks again for listening to me, and if you found any questions based out of this video, so do write me down on my comments, and I will be happier enough to help you out. Thank you.